Welcome back to the latest part of the crossover. As the final trial edges near, it's time to still make some more preparations for the big, grand courtroom battle.
Yes, me and Luke need to decide what refreshments to get for the court.
Mentos.
Mentos doesn't exist.
Red Bull?
I know what we'll do. We'll go to that red-headed baker woman's house and have her make sausage rolls for all of us.
I think she's probably going to be attending the trial to see if Espella will be okay or not.
Luke and I began making our way to the Storyteller's Tower, where we'd hoped to begin our search for clues straight away. We learned that Inquisitor Barnum told his dog Constantine that the tower is home to the darkest and most hidden of secrets. We haven't much time before the start of Miss Cantabella's 55th trial. Come, Luke, we must make our way past this guard post and into the tower.
So we're going to make our way to the highest point in the tallest tower.
Yes. I hope you don't have a fear of heights.
Professor,
What is it, my boy?
this is like something out of a fairy tale. What do you think about what happened tonight?
On the surface, it certainly did appear that the Storyteller's assailant could be none other than Espella.
But surely not. I mean, is it weird that we've seen a man just die like that?
However, even if it did seem that way, that does not necessarily make it the truth. And if it transpires that Espella is in fact innocent, then there must be some form of contradiction or proof to support as much.
That's where the lawyers come in.
Yes.
Lawyers suck.
since-
I actually
since,
do proper investigating.
What are you
But
gonna
since
do? Be a
Herschel-
lawyer yourself all of a sudden?
Well, look at it this way, Phoenix. Like, Herschel is much better at investigating than necessarily, defending. So he'll get some evidence for you.
Pretty much like you said, Phoenix and Maya are investigating the scene of the crime, so they've got a better grasp on the trial at this moment.
Investigating. I actually look into things. All you did for like most of your original trilogy, aside from like one case, was just point at stuff and put it in your bag.
Actually, I did analyze it here and there.
Yes, I said in that one case.
Well, even outside of that case, but let's not get too off track.
In the time that I spent with Espella, I've never once doubted her character. There's just no way she could do anything as terrible as what happened in that square.
Now I have to call out that line. See, that line falls
Yeah.
flat because first off, Espella is as flat as a pancake. Second, and by that I mean the character, I don't mean
Yes,
that other way.
yes, the character.
Oh, we know. Don't worry.
Second, they don't really get to know all that well. Not really. For a line like that to feel earned.
Okay, if I may take a bit of a comparison here, let's just say there's a certain character who's the linchpin in a lot of stuff in Ace Attorney 5, who you really do grow to care for. I won't spoil the deets of that character, because plot stuff here. What you need to know is that that's kind of this plot, but done better. At least, okay, when it comes to the whole character as a MacGuffin thing here. Let me put it like this. Espella had a decent start as a character. I don't honestly believe that everything she does is dumb like Dwibbs does, but I do get his annoyance of her in that regard, because by this point here, for someone who the characters care so gosh darn much about, she hasn't exactly done the best job selling herself to the audience in that regard.
Yeah.
It's the same problem as the Book of Harry, where the entire plot
Oh,
of that
hold
movie
on.
is to save Christina. Go on.
Good evening, Mr. Layton. It has been a while since we last met. In fact, last I heard, you were turned solid to gold.
Yes, indeed, Miss Mister. But I must say, I'm surprised to be meeting you at a place like this. What, your place of work?
Gameplay mechanics. After seeing the Storyteller's parade today, I've been unable to simply sit still in the library. But at the same time, wandering around aimlessly doesn't solve anything either. Want to solve a
talking
puzzle
about
with me?
Those two Americans do it all the time.
And then again, meeting you like this, Professor, has given some meaning to my wandering. If you know what I mean.
Yes.
Wink, wink.
I'm not interested.
Philly. Well, if you'd like to try your hand at any unsolved puzzles or puzzles that you didn't manage to encounter, I will happily show you them now.
Yes. All... How many of them?
How about trying a puzzle or two? Solving puzzles can help relieve stress, especially in difficult times such as these. I mean, for all we know, we may be upon the very end of the world as we know it. It's very stressful, as you say.
Yes. Yeah. What a great puzzle variety you got there. None.
Anytime you wish to try your hand at some puzzles, be sure to come and see me.
You haven't got any.
But I wasn't counting on the player finding them all, now was I?
Well, if you have some puzzles in that book of yours. What are you writing in that book anyway? Let me see.
No, you can't see it.
Oh my.
I said you can't see it. Now go. Don't you have a day to save?
I shouldn't tell us to Luke.
Who are these two?
Storyteller would come to such an end.
Dwibs and Tio.
I'm still finding it hard to believe even now. I mean, what's to become of us?
Wish I do. I'm all worried about Inquisitor Barden. He's being held on suspicion of treason.
These are some crazy times.
This whole thing is just one big headache. No matter what, the future ain't looking too bright.
Always look on the bright side of life.
There is no bright side. It's dark for a start.
Enough of your pathetic whining. You call yourselves knights? Pish!
The captain. There it is. It's been a while since we saw him.
Yeah. The Storyteller's gone. Inquisitor Barnum's gone. And who do you think is suffering the most because of it? The townsfolk, that's who. It is to show that while he has been kind of a jerk to us, his heart was still in the right place.
It's just following the law.
Pretty much.
Yes, sir, that's certainly true, but with things the way they are, what can we do?
Pitiful! Over there, isn't that...
Oh no, here we go again.
It would appear even the knights are unsettled, my boy.
What's going to become a labyrinthia now?
Who cares? Well, according to the final story, once all this all sorted out, there will be fresh whatever. So it's a little early to be losing heart just yet.
I hope you're right. Let's do our best to make it so, Professor.
And even if it gets burned down, like, no one's gonna notice anyway.
What's this? Someone's coming this way. Isn't that...
And what are you two doing here? Bloody troublemakers.
We're heading for the Storyteller's Tower. There may be something left to uncover, so we're going there now to find out.
And we hope you guards will just let us waltz right into the dead man's place.
With a smile like that on Layton's face, how can you say no?
Did you say the Storyteller's Tower?
No, I said the Storyteller's Sex Dungeon. What do you think I said?
Uh-oh, I hope this doesn't mean we're about to be surrounded by knights pointing swords at us again.
Woof, woof, woof.
Well, if it isn't little Constantine.
Oh, sorry.
Ah, I see. This must mean you're working on behalf of Inquisitor Barnum. Well,
yes.
In that case, the tower's up ahead. You may proceed.
Yes, Inquisitor Barnum, not recently deposed Barnum.
Okay, to be fair, the captain knows about what happened to Barnum, too.
It happened.
In fact, I insist that you proceed. I have a feeling there's some unfinished business that only you can take care of. boy,
No pressure.
does that really stand out in a meta sense, but he is right either way. For all our sakes, go there and fulfill your quest. I say
Go
this
rest our
as your
heroes,
theme plays. That is your cue, Professor Layton. And in doing so, show us all that there is still hope for the future of Labyrinthia.
Captain!
There is no future. Very well. We shan't let you down. Let's go, Luke.
You know, to go back to my Titanic analogy, that last sunset, that was the last day the crossover ever saw the light of day.
The Storyteller's Tower stands right ahead of us.
Right you are, Professor!
Yes, well done, Luke. You can see with your eyes.
It's because they have, everything outside of just a dot.
Oh, you can tell it's poignant. Dramatic lighting and everything.
Look! I can see the tower right over there! But how do we get to it?
We roller skate up, I don't know. I believe this may be where our little friend comes in handy. Wouldn't you say, Luke?
Right!
And Nathan pulls out a shotgun.
Yes.
I see. You're saying there's a path. He says there's a path leading from behind the audience room right over to the Storyteller's Tower.
Oh, how fortunate for us. One could hardly ask for a better guide.
I'll be your guide is a better guide, I think.
No.
But I've got to accept the sat nav. Well, I could have a sat nav, but there aren't any. So
Oh, really? He just said, "You've nothing to worry about when I'm here." And then he added, "You might want to worry about Sir Blue Knight, though."
I worry about him every time I
At the end of the
see him.
game, and he still wants to bite his underpants.
Damn.
I hope Mr. Wright and Maya were able to come across some clues.
You know what they say, I see London, I see France.
Won't be a first time for everything. I don't think we need worry too much about them. I'm sure they'll be alright. Wouldn't you agree, my boy?
I mean, at this
Cut to
stage...
Phoenix being burned to the stake.
Of course, Professor.
No!
While I was teaming up with Mr. Wright, one thing became clear to me. He's definitely someone who will always do his best to protect his friends.
Yeah, that's
That's what I do. So what makes him so special?
Well, he does it on official terms.
I agree, Luke. He's a fine young lawyer with a heart of gold. Don't make any gold jokes, Luke.
I guess that wouldn't really be golden of me, would it, Professor?
I'm quite confident the trial is safe in his capable hands.
Me too.
So the hands I'll be using soon if you...
And then there's Maya.
Always strong and courageous. I love how he had to pause to think of something to compliment Maya on.
Not to mention full of energy.
I barely know her.
She's a bit reckless sometimes, but always with good intent.
Okay, he did get to know Maya since they spent an entire night searching out for a cat. So that was a
Lucky
thing.
to have them on our side.
No. Luke's dialogue here actually works. It's the expel bit from before that doesn't work.
Honestly, I hate to say it, things would have actually been more on point if Maya were the one accused of being Bazella. I mean, more reasons to care right there and then.
It would basically be the running gag taken to the ultimate extreme, basically.
Now, granted,
This way, friends that could truly be...
In fact,
granted,
Jovah-
one caveat would be that, okay, obviously we know Maya would be found innocent in that regard, so I guess to somewhat keep the audience guessing, as well as the potential Bazella, but still, makes you think. Yes, Pedro?
one thing they could have, on the offset that they could have done, so that Maya is constantly being associated with Bazella, maybe this could have been Takumi's way of ending the running gag.
Okay, I'll be honest, at this point, I'm fine if the running gag continues. Like you, at this point, I just see it as series tradition. That being said, if you really did want to end the running gag, having Maya be accused of being the greatest witch of all time could be pretty cool. And honestly, people would have, okay, in their own flawed way, good reason to suspect Maya being Bezella. Which, again, kind of goes back to the irony that the best case in this game is the one where Maya's accused.
Okay, I'm trying to think.
Wow.
Hang on.
Is it quick?
I was just trying to think what Layton games do not involve climbing a giant-ass tower. I think, I think not just that, also... God, the fourth game. I forgot its title.
And don't forget, Azran Legacy, we don't just climb a giant tower, we go into a flipping sky palace. Also,
it's a reference to Miyazaki's Castle in the Sky.
Also, I love how even Layton admits that the castle looks ominous in the moonlight.
Like, remember in Ni no Kuni 1 where the White Witch's palace comes up and they literally have Esther literally say, "A castle in the sky." Yeah?
Get it? Did you get it?
Okay.
So,
Hey?
so long story short, this is a Layton tradition, climbing up to an incredibly high and dangerous altitude.
Those games also have some kind of climbing if it's a tower, or in the case of Catherine. Well, Catherine is technically a tower too, I guess. It's typical in Japanese media because, you know, climbing a tower is very striking imagery for a climatic part of the story.
Also, old tradition, same as the old games. Namco actually, one of its oldest APs is called the Tower Duraga.
Not to mention those underground ruins. Talk about mysterious places. It's almost like the tower, the Eldritch Woods, and the ruins might all be connected.
Nah.
If the Storyteller really did know everything about Labyrinthia, I'd have liked to have asked him a thing or two about them.
It's kind of like JRPGs' final dungeons always being full of trippy imagery. It's kind of a tradition.
Yeah.
It's possible there may be clues related to those places, as well as a number of other matters waiting for us within that tower. In which case, there could also be any manner of traps or contrivances awaiting us as well.
He's right about one of those things.
I mean, there are traps too.
Yeah.
We shall have to be doubly careful from here on in.
I mean, here on out.
Got it, Professor.
Oh, get in the building.
I know what I said.
Okay, fine, Professor Geesh.
You've what? You've completed your mission?
Take a shit near the Storyteller's castle?
He says he's worried about his master and wants to return to him now.
We couldn't have come this far without your fine guidance, Constantine. Yes, the dog is more helpful. We can take it from here.
Then Constantine's like, and then it looks like, oh, he says that the blood that he left in my bag will blow up in 10 seconds.
Oh, snap.
And that was 9 seconds.
You know, honestly, at this point, we'll probably get a Mission Impossible call that is basically delivered by a dog.
Bye, Constantine. Inquisitor Barnum loves this town more than anyone, and has done his utmost to protect it.
But does he love it as much as the spirit loves his city?
Not to that extent, Jovah.
Let's bear that in mind too, Luke.
Does he love this city as much as Jacob loves Renesmee?
Oh god.
Why?
Why?
Or does he love his city as much as that guy in the spirits?
I bet that's what I said.
I'm ready when you are, Professor.
Okay.
Just to let you know, Shirai, you know, Frank Miller tends to write characters who are quite literally in a carnal love with buildings.
Yes. Oh wait. Are we about to get it?
Sure.
So yes. Oh, there's a hint coin right on top of that spire, but now it's time for one of the most over-the-top places where a hint coin has been hidden.
In the
Look,
ocean?
Professor, you can see the ocean from up here. We must be at the coast of Labyrinthia.
The sea is quite tranquil here. There's not a ship or light for miles.
But yes, where is that damn third hint coin? Now, I'm glad that the host failed like it deserved to. Oh, wait.
I don't even think she actually mentioned
we go.
the series about
On the moon.
Yes, it's on the moon! Go get it,
Wait,
Professor!
how do we even grab it? Professor,
I haven't got any
explain.
space equipment.
Okay, this is actually one of the most memed on hint coin locations to the point where there are two epic comics I remember about it. One was done by Awkward Zombie, of course, who basically has it be that Layton essentially shoots off into the sky to the point where people scream out about witchcraft. Oh yeah, also we can also investigate the audience room here. Pretty cool.
We could just walk right in here.
The second
man's dead, so.
The second comic actually has Layton go up in an astronaut suit just to get the hint coin, telling Luke he'll be right back. But because going to the moon can take a while, by the time he's back, the trial is lost, Espella is killed, and yeah, Phoenix and Maya and Luke are just working in the bakery now. But it's okay, because Layton got a hint coin.
We must cross the bridge to access the Storyteller's Tower.
No lights are on in the tower. No one's home from the looks of it, so why are the lights on in here?
Candles.
A royal-looking crimson purple fichu carpet.
This place has not changed in the least since we last saw it.
It's so empty without the storyteller, though. Kinda creepy.
Naturally.
Well, let's go. The fog has cleared up, so the tower's there for all to see and admire its height.
Well, let's see if we can reach the top of that tower, shall we?
It seems like a daunting task.
I do love how
Professor, there's just no one around. It's unnaturally quiet except for your theme playing.
But yeah, no.
Why wouldn't my feet be playing?
I do love how epic it looks in the night shading like that. But hey, we've got some unfinished business.
Ew, I can hear the horses in there. I'd like to chat with them.
It's a big stable. It just shows how important horses are for getting around here in Labyrinthia.
The horses are all in a good mood. They're neighing. This hay is so good.
A hidden puzzle. Just to catch you off guard. You're still hanging around here, I see.
I have a puzzle as punishment.
Yes, I had a feeling there was something I'd left unfinished, you see.
AKA player completion. Well, if that's the case, why not take the opportunity to solve a puzzle? We Knights of the Inquisition won't give up, even in a situation as tough as this one. As long as there's a knight standing, we'll be here protecting this town.
I'm quite positive you will be.
Why wouldn't we? Ahem. Puzzle 62. Chess Assault. Two opposing sets of knight chess pieces are engaged in battle. In order to win, your chess piece must topple the enemy pieces scattered across the board. Chess knights move 2 squares forward and 1 square perpendicular on each turn. The initial direction can be up and down, and you know the rest. However, this is the super difficult version of the chessboard puzzle from before. This one now adds dash panels, which can boot you to your doom if you, well, direct yourself wrong.
Fun.
How's this for a game of chess? So it's you're one knight against an entire flock of the opposition. But, yeah, going back to what we were talking about earlier here, yeah, no. It actually could have been an interesting idea if they did actually go with Maya as, the one accused of being Bazella here and there. Like, imagine if, per se, initially, Espella's the one accused of being Bazella, Phoenix manages to get Espella, off the hook and whatnot, but then new suspicions begin to arise. The Storyteller's story is still going about, and then all things start to go on to Maya, essentially. Now, as for what we would have done about, the Golden Courtroom case, I'd say just have maybe another defendant. Who knows, maybe even Patty or something for that case, essentially. And meanwhile, we could have seen how Espella does off the hook here. Like, if she feels guilty that someone else is being accused of being Bazella in her stead, or realizing just how messed up things are when she's from the perspective of somebody who is not, basically a social pariah due to who her dad is.
The problem with Espella is the same problem with Christina, the girl from Book of Eri, where she's the such a central character to the plot because we have to save her from her dad, and although I will give credit to Espella, she actually has dialogue, and yet they actually do at the very least try to properly set her up and have her actually talk to people. Whereas Christina in Book of Eri has 5 lines in the entire movie. She's literally an object.
Okay.
To be.
And to give Espella credit, she did not start off bad, per se. She started off being a mysterious, yes, but somewhat interesting character here. A girl who, as far as we knew, came from a world that the real world didn't know exist, but actually literally came from within the confines of a book. We had no idea how she and Carmine made it out of that book, or how others also came out and chased them here and there. She was shrouded in mystery, and to also give her further credit, starting off in Labyrinthia, she was also a good help. Now, she wasn't as much a help for the first case of the game here, but to be fair, one, that's part of the usual kit and caboodle to make things seem somewhat impossible for Phoenix to win as usual. And she was clearly under the influence of something or someone. So I'm gonna give her leeway on that. And like I said, when we do first get to Labyrinthia, she is helpful in helping Layton and Luke get away from the Knights of the Inquisition, helping them escape, giving them a place to stay. It's interesting seeing her relationships with Phoenix and Maya and Patty as well. No, I think the issues really only start after, and I say after Chapter 2. Okay, she's fine enough for the first trial. Well, okay, second trial, but first witch trial, because, Okay, fair beans. She's the defendant again here, but this is in her proper hometown. Okay, and she's relatively fine. And yeah, she does have that bit where she yells, "No, don't do this to this woman," because, yeah, no, it is horrifying to see someone get burned. Fair and fine enough. Now, the issues start in Chapter 3 because, well, that's where she loses presence for a bit. Wherein, essentially, she's locked up, so we don't get as much interactions with her. What we do get are more interactions between Phoenix, Layton, Maya, and Luke. Which, you know what, okay, fair beans, that should be a focus of the crossover. And one of the best parts, I do think, is actually seeing how Maya has to reckon with the fact that she and Phoenix now have to try and differentiate which of their memories with Espella are real or fake. But one thing I like is that this does at least give a good reason why Phoenix and Maya would feel this tethered to Espella in that regard here. Yes, they have to differentiate the fiction from reality, but at the very least, it is very much like they have known Espella, and that's not something that you can just shake up by saying, oh, it was a fake, because, no, clearly the story is very able to influence your mind heavily here. I mean, it compels people to do certain things as we've seen, so, yeah. So, you know what? Phoenix and Maya, I can get why they would fight for Espella. Which is kind of ironic because they technically knew Espella, at a later point than Layton and Luke did, yet I feel like they have more reason to. Now, granted, obviously with Layton and Luke, you got the usual, well, okay, obviously, they're the protagonists, and, it's the duty of a gentleman to help a lady here and there. Except, I don't know. I mean, granted, I will say this, I've never found Layton plots to be that deep here and there, but even still, I feel like normally there was at least more to just, it's the duty of a gentleman when they would help out this new character that they met.
Well, Layton's more about the character arcs, and specifically the tragic backstories of the characters, not more necessarily than having strong themes in the story. I mean, yeah, there's inherently things to be specific, like for example, in Pandora's Box, it's love. But it's not necessarily that the story is super romantic or anything. It's more so for the touching story involving Anton and Sophia. The backstory. It's the backstory where the substance comes from,
which I guess, in that case is fine.
And Miss Attorney is kind of like the same MSM as well. It's also more about discovering the backstory of all these witnesses and discovering their tragic backstories and what led them to become. Like, for example, there's how many times in Miss Attorney have we had a witness break down and then tell us her tragic backstory of why she's become a criminal because X, Y, and Z. That's usually how these franchises work. It's more about the characters rather than focusing on a layered story, necessarily.
I do think that Ace Attorney is sort of more so the full package. Now, granted, it doesn't always go here and there, but one thing that it does do, I would say, is that, it goes into character story writing, but also just make sure that it has a nicely fleshed narrative around things as well. Can it be complex? Sometimes not. But all in all, I'd say it works. Whereas Layton is definitely one that focuses, I'd say, more so on the broader strokes. And you know what? To be fair, there's a time and place, and that is just a style that suits Layton better, I guess, in that regard. Whereas Ace Attorney, and granted, this is partially because Ace Attorney definitely has to rely more on its story than its gameplay here, whereas Layton at least does have some gameplay to fall back on for here and there. Ace Attorney definitely goes for the more full-depth approach, whereas Layton goes for the about in broad strokes. This is not a knock against him, mind you, but I do think it is a point of how its styles go. But to bring this back to Espella, and yes, I sped this up with Batman music, because it's the Dark Knight and all that, and it's a chessboard. Espella, I feel, is someone who they pretend has the depth of an Ace Attorney character, but in reality, she's written more like a Layton side character.
No, that works well because most of the side characters you meet in, let's say for example, in Lost Future. Lost Future is some of the most memorable side characters in Layton. For example, Rosetta Stone, anyone? But Rosetta Stone is meant to be a comedy that's mostly there for comedic relief. She's not a super interesting character, but that's okay. That's not the point. Her point is just to be there to serve as to throw in some sexual innuendo for the lulz.
Yeah.
Right? But you're not supposed to care about Rosetta Stone. In here, they ask you to care about Espella, even though she doesn't really have anything to her.
Maybe in a more...
Rosetta's at the very least funny. Espella doesn't even have that.
Let me put it this. Maybe in a purely Layton-themed story, Espella could work as a main character. Even still, the story would have to be tailored to that. But here's the problem, though. The presence of Ace Attorney. And like we've mentioned here, this game is kind of a big crossover aspect in how it combines not just the gameplay styles, but the writing styles here. But Espella does not fit in with how they're trying to establish Ace Attorney weight to what's more like a Layton-weighted character. Okay, it may sound a bit weird, but here's the thing. Her backstory definitely feels quite Layton-esque in that regard, and it don't fit with the actual twists that do come. That was some impressive puzzle solving. Tell me, where did you acquire such a skill?
Oh, it was nothing. I can solve this kind of puzzle over tea and scones, just as any gentleman can.
I'm not sure I quite follow, but now's not the time to worry about that. Oh my god, he actually smiles! Well, to be fair, we did see him smile with Petal and her brother, but it's a very rare sight.
Very well. I'll certainly do my best to live up to your expectations.
See that you do.
I'll do my best too.
No one asked you.
Hey!
Not to mention,
We're doing our best to protect this town. Make sure you do your best too, and don't die.
Again.
yeah,
Yes. But, yeah, no, again, you know what? To give a spell credit, had what is actually the twist of her paid off well here, I might not have even had these complaints about her in the long run. But that is another time, and a much, much different story.
It seems the mechanisms put in place to protect the tower are still operating.
Does this mean we can't get inside?
No, we're just throwing a rave party. What do you think?
It sounded like you were throwing a rave party with that disco music during the chessboard puzzle.
This particular mechanism is in the form of a puzzle. If we solve it, perhaps we can enter.
Well, what a surprise! It's a puzzle.
What is 5 plus 80?
It is gonna be a math puzzle, to all our joys. There are 12
There
gems.
are 12 gems. Each of them numbered between 1 and 12. There's also a set of 3 triangles of gems already inside them. Keep in mind, these gems cannot be moved. Place the gems from your hand so that the sum of all the numbers on each triangle's perimeter adds up to 39.
It's like a triangular Sudoku.
Why 39? That's oddly specific.
Because 69's too immature, not to mention too used.
Not very nice.
You see, this is Professor Layton. We believe in high quality content.
even comparing this to, like, for example, like I feel like Ghost Trick as an overall more layered story in comparison to the Ace Attorney games. And again, it's meant to be like that because you can tell Takumi actually wanted to move. That was back in the days where Takumi was genuinely trying to move forward and not really go. Remember, this was before, he didn't want to go back to Ace Attorney at the time at all. So
I will give Ghost Trick this. It does feel like it has a bit of a similar format to Ace Attorney, even down to the music. But I do get where you're coming from in that regard. Ah, ominous. And oh my god, it's Kingdom Hearts in there.
It's a 4-gauge Jovah, that's
well, actually, no. If it was a if it was the Door to Darkness, there would be Rays of Light. So,
Guys, what is Kingdom Hearts? 1 minute it's the consciousness of all
light.
hearts. The other time it's the moon.
It's the friends we made along the way.
yes, exactly. Kingdom Hearts. No, that's the thing, Devs. That's pretty much actually what it usually boils down to. Because the primary theme of the series is friendship. So actually, yes, it is the friends we've made all the way.
They
Actually.
took the light and dark motif and made it the universe's entire personality.
Pretty much.
It's because Shiroi, the light and dark element from Kingdom Hearts is Nomura took that from Final Fantasy 1. It's meant to be the take on.
To get here, we had to make our way beyond the guard post and through the storyteller's whatever. That would normally be considered sufficient evidence against intruders. Also, one would imagine.
Yeah, I guess you're right. There were several knights around as well.
And yet, in addition, we found that contrivance in place on the floor, on the door. It would suggest to me that something of great importance must be contained within.
Oh boy.
Let's go on in and find out, Professor.
In the next part.
Yes.
We have
Fasten your seatbelts, ladies and gentlemen, because with the start of the next chapter comes the beginning of the Grand Witch Trial and Layton and Luke's ascent up the tower. And oh boy, is it gonna be wild.
Yes, we get to play our tower defense video game, while Phoenix Wright and Maya have to sit at a desk yelling at somebody.
Believe it or not, Professor, it's way more exciting than you'd think. And actually, you should know, you've stood in on one of my trials at this point now. Well, okay, technically two, but you were dead during the second witch trial.
I still stood there, didn't I?
It's gonna be fine.
Yes,
Lucius.
in fact, Luke and Espella literally had to turn you so that you could pose along with me, with Luke shouting objection in your stead.
Yes, of course. Anyway, see you in the next part where I don't know, I shoot whoever killed the storyteller.
No, Professor,
Yeah,
I'm afraid you won't be in the next part.
Well, fuck.